and other Southeast countries. And in India, if I talk about the job losses, MSME sector and also in the unorganized sector have led to the highest number of unemployed people in slum area and also those who are daily wages earners. Disaster risk reduction policy and practice therefore require knowledge of informed decision making and coordinated action. Without risk-informed policy and program, achieving resilient and sustainable development is not possible. Thus, adaptations to the changing impact of climate is a complementary action for minimizing the risk due to increased hazards for various disasters. Similarly, mitigation measures if implemented in advance as pre-disaster management planning can reduce the magnitude of impact of global warming on natural resources, in turn reducing adaptation's need. It has also been realized that climate change is a dynamic process that is changing the face of disaster risk, not only with the increased weather-related hazard, but also through increasing societal vulnerabilities. Changing climate having weird impact on the Indian subcontinent. Unusual and unprecedented spells of hot weather are occurring more frequently and cover much larger area. One of the worst affected area with changing climate will be agriculture. That is going to affect the life and livelihood of rural area. As 70% of population of India is dependent upon agriculture for its livelihood. And 58% of India landmass is prone to drought area. And changing rainfall events are even observed with the decline in monsoon rainfall and increasing in frequency of heavy rainfall in the short period of time. You have seen in 2019, 2020, you have seen in Kerala flood, you have seen in Chennai flood, you have seen other places with heavy rainfall for a certain time, for 5 hours, for 6 hours, are increasing day by day. That's why the flash flood and urban flood are increasing day by day. This trend will further affect the crop yield as 70% of agriculture is rain-fed, depending upon the monsoon period in India. In addition to this, sea level rise and storm surge will lead to the saltwater intrusion in the coastal area, impacting agriculture, degrading groundwater qualities. Although all over the world, there are 2 departments are handling these 2 climate change and disaster. But in India, the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has the responsibility for climate change, whereas the Ministry of Home Affairs has responsibility for disaster management in India. As both CCA and DRR are not sectors in themselves, but must be implemented through the policies of other sectors, in particularly those in agriculture, water resources, health, poverty reduction, education, land use, environment, finance, and planning for sustainable development. India recognizes and promote coherence of inclusive approach for building resilience. The SFDRR, Global Target number 4, and SDG, Goal number 1, 11, and 13, recognize disaster resilient infrastructure as a crucial drive of economic growth and development. Besides reducing infrastructure losses, disaster resilient infrastructure will also help achieve target pertaining to reduction in mortality, number of affected people, and economic losses due to disaster. In the year 2015, the Government of India adopted three landmark international agreements having bearing on disaster risk reduction. And that is Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, SFDRR in March 2015, Sustainable Development Goal SDG 2015-2030 in September 2015, and Paris Agreement on Climate Change at the 21st Conference of Parties, COP21, under the United Nations Framework and Convention on Climate Change in December 2015. Thus, special emphasis has been given to carry out activities that will enhance outcome based on coherence between the three international agreements. Various initiatives have been taken by many countries, both in policy and practical action for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, that is CCA, focus upon reducing the vulnerability of local community, thereby enhancing resilience for minimizing the adverse impact of disaster risk reduction and climate change. A joint initiative addressing with both CCA and DRR, emphasizing multi-sectoral development-based approach for strengthening local institutions of democratic governance and building community resilience is required to be the frame for ensuring sustainable development. We have to come together, all agencies, whatever we are doing, we have to share our best practices. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to bring the like for climate change. Why climate change is happening? We have to understand this subject. And today is the forum of this. We want to hear from other participants to what action they are taking in their respective area, so that this message can be spread, how to reduce, how to take control of this climate change, how to bring climate change into action now. In same time, disaster risk reduction also, how pre-planning can be done, how to prevent it, how to prepare ourselves. The preparedness is a continuous effort. It is a knowledge base. The more we will read about this, the more we will exchange our words with everybody, the more prepared we'll feel. And here I'll give my thanks to Nakulji and John for solution people. They are really doing a great job of spreading this type of messages. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the very best for this webinar. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the important impact of climate change and related challenges. You have rightly pointed out, sir, that with the rigorous work done by the governance and the society, we are able to minimize the death death to some extent due to this climatic change and disasters happening around us, but economic losses are very high. And some of the initiative been taken by Government of India, like CDRI, where we are trying to build disaster resilient infrastructure, would support in minimizing the economic losses. You have rightly pointed out that we need to have a risk-informed decision making, so that the DRR policy and practices should also become risk-informed, and we need to have a multi-sectoral approach, developmental approach, where we are able to coordinate with each other to minimize the impact of changing climate and increasing disasters. So one of the important sector which you have mentioned, sir, is agriculture, which is worstly affected by changing climate. So we could not have anybody better than Professor Anil Gupta from NIDM to discuss upon climate change and impact on agriculture and related sector. Dr. Gupta is formerly Head Director, Institute of Environment Development Studies, Bundelkhand University, and currently working with NIDM since 2006. He is serving as a head of Environment, Climate, and Disaster Risk Management Division at National Institute of Disaster Management. I welcome you, Professor Gupta, and would request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tanushree and Shri Nakul ji. And thank you to Shri Rajendra Singh ji, Honorable Member of NDMA. I was listening to him, and in such a wonderful way, he has explained a kind of a excellent summary, the kind of challenges that we are facing because of climate change, and also that how we start looking at more holistically, and we also plan our actions accordingly. He has very prudent examples he has referred, that how it is affecting various sectors, it is affecting human beings, ecosystems, urban systems, many other resources also. So thank you to Rajendra Singh ji for setting the context, and very wonderful beginning is there because of him. So
thank you. Thank you. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir. So I was listening to you, and it was really such a wonderful this thing. And in a very few minutes, you told such a lucid way. Excellent, sir. So I will highlight 2-3 points since Dr. Tanushree referred to agriculture sector, and recently we have not actually recently, now it is almost 1 year. We developed the National Disaster Management Plan for the agriculture sector, which has been approved by NDMA also, and now it is open to for implementation. Honorable Minister for Agriculture has released it formally also. And when the initiative for developing the disaster management plan at national level for agriculture sector started, some people told we already have a plan for drought. Some people told that yes, we do a lot of activities to give relief in the when there is a frost or hails and related damages are there. Some people told that okay, at the district level we are also developing contingency plans for disaster, for drought, whenever there is a drought declaration. So and then we recall that I had coordinated the preparation of the national manual on disaster management for Ministry of Agriculture also, that we did in 2016 under the directive of Honorable Supreme Court, and then it was further revised also in 2018. So these kind of topics were there, that okay, we have so many things, and then why this national plan for disaster management is required. Then we had to basically do a lot of clarification and bring them on board, a number of stakeholders associated with agriculture and food security. That very first thing, that one sector cannot be made resilient alone. If we talk agriculture sector, I think we cannot leave water sector, because without water sector, agriculture sector is not resilient. Similarly, agriculture also requires the down the line food and public distribution sector. And upstream, again, if we look, it requires so many other inputs. For example, it requires an effective natural resource management system. It requires the effective management of land system. It requires fertilizers and pesticides. It requires a lot of skills associated with for improving agriculture. It also requires a lot of knowledge about climate projection for the future. So there are so many things. And number two, disaster management is not only one disaster. Then they told that drought is our primary disaster. We told that yes, we agree. Drought is the primary disaster for agriculture. But what if the people who are engaged in agriculture, their houses are damaged by earthquake? Are the seeds were stored in a godown? Are the fertilizer that is stored in a godown is affected by flood or affected by cyclone? In fact, I am quoting one example. When the cyclone Fani took place in Orissa, Many of the warehouses where these seeds were stored for the coming season, those were to be distributed and sold for the coming season. All those seeds got germinated as an effect of cyclone, because cyclone also followed with the flooding. And then when actually the seeds were required, seeds were not available. And then the farmers had to do a lot of struggle. The cost of seed and then black marketing of seed also started. So there are numerous challenges, and on the back of it is climate change, because increasing frequency of cyclones, the challenges in water sector, challenges in several other sectors, including energy sector. Like in agriculture, energy is very fundamental. So for irrigation and so many things, yeah. Then agriculture cannot sustain if our food and processing industry is not there, because ultimately there have to be buyers, there had to be processors. People grow something for which the the food processing industry is demanding for. If the industry is demanding, we want this product, the farmers will start growing that product. So I think there is a forward and backward linkages. So that is, I think, very important aspect. And then all agreed, yes, we have to prepare a multi-hazard plan. Then we have prepared a multi-hazard plan and everyone appreciated. And second thing that we found, that past 2 years, we have also seen a lot of unprecedented events. Rajendra Singh ji sir was referring about the extreme events. I think extreme events have become so frequent now and so diverse also. Now you see that winter rain this year in many of the places. Yeah. And then extreme events is also going to increase. That Glasgow summit, all the scientific studies which were presented there, it has concluded, and now we are talking about 1.5 degree and also the threats of 2 degree increase in temperature. And I think extreme events are going to increase. So how do we get ready for those? But over and above, what is not known also is sometimes important. So the pandemic has shown us that we start preparing for unknown disasters also. So known disasters are fine. Okay, we know that extreme events may increase, heat wave may increase, the floods may be there, rainfall may be there. But if something again like pandemic occurs, like again agriculture related, during the pandemic itself, we faced a major locust attack also. That was also unprecedented. First time the locust attack was so widespread, and it came during pandemic, so it has additional challenge. And everyone knows that these kind of infestations, where pandemic movement of these insects, locust kind of things, or have a direct climate connection. Their breeding got increased because of the climate favorability. The climate was more favorable to their breeding, and that's why their replication or the multiplication was so high. Because otherwise these टिड्डी जो बोलते हैं, these locust, they don't have survival rate for long. But उसके पहले उनके offsprings इतने आते जा रहे थे और वो आगे move करते जा रहे थे. So this is also indicating that we start preparing for black swan events, like the events which we do not know. And I recall one of the former member secretary of NDMA, in an informal chat, he told just an example that, okay, you are preparing so many plans. Just think, how would you ensure food security if the sun does not rise for 1 year? Then everyone told, sir, how it is possible? He told that if we look in the history, we find that there were an incident that over Cambodia, I think sun did not rise for 80 days. And it was some impact of volcanic eruption. So certainly there has to be some reason for something, but we do not know when that reason can take place. So maybe this year also, or because of the climate change, if the sky becomes so gloomy that the Earth's surface doesn't get adequate amount of sunlight, then certainly the effect has to be on the agriculture system, the productivity of these plants. So how do we start thinking of the alternatives? How do we have effective storage? Which are the species, which are the products that can be stored, how those can be stored, how those can be processed. And another aspect is very important, because if we recall 2019 July, India hosted the 14th Conference of Parties of UNCCD, United Nations Convention on Combating Desertification. Desertification is, I think, one of the biggest problems the world is going to face. And desertification does not mean that the areas become converted to desert, but basically the challenge of land degradation, any kind of land degradation, whether it is because of pollution, because of the lack of carbon component, lack of moisture component, because of the erosion. There are so many aspects of land degradation, but land degradation is very bad. Sometimes I say that the most limiting factor on this earth is land, because we cannot extend the land, we cannot stretch out the land. And for any type of development, we want more and more land. That is something we want. Maybe in future we can synthesize water, we burn hydrogen and we create water. But how to create additional land? That is not possible. So that is why now land use models, new city models are going vertical rather than horizontal. So go upwards. And even just I'm referring to currently, Rajendra sir, we have started a short study that how to utilize the underground spaces, maybe for warehousing, maybe for storage, because जगह नहीं है, तो जगह हम ऊपर भी जाएं और लेकिन हम देखें कि हम नीचे भी जा सकते हैं. So क्या potentials हो सकता है? We have started a study with some of the planners. We'll share that study maybe by the end of February for your perusal and for public scrutiny also. So I think these are new dimensions. So agriculture also vertical agriculture. अभी जापान में जैसे agriculture होता है, that multi-storied agriculture. We grow something, उसके ऊपर कुछ और दूसरी मंजिल पे, तीसरी मंजिल पे, चौथी मंजिल पे. So the new models of agriculture is also done. And just I was reading just 2 days before that in England, more than 40% of their fruits and other the horticultural products are coming from cities only. वो शहर के अंदर ही इतना एग्रीकल्चर ग्रो कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज उससे दो फायदे होते हैं. वन इज दैट यू डेवलप ग्रीनरी एंड यू मेंटेन ग्रीनरी इन द सिटीज. अदरवाइज बाकी पेड़ को तो लोग बोलते हैं अच्छा इनको जरूरत नहीं है. सो इफ दोस ट्रीज एंड प्लांट्स आर मल्टीपर्पज प्लांट्स, those are horticultural plants, you are able to maintain and you have benefits also. So I think a new kind of balance is required, new kind of land use model is required. So I think very important that we start looking at agriculture system in a new vision, new way. And just I think on 23rd of January, just few days before, on the birth anniversary of Netaji, our honorable PM Saab also referred that when we are moving towards 100 years of our independence, so Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav that has started. So 2047, every sector is preparing a vision for 2047. So I told that vision for agriculture for 2047 has to look at what kind of disasters the agriculture sector is going to face. Now what is facing? 2030 what will be the challenge, 2050 what, by 2047 what will be the challenge. I think it is very important because we should not concentrate any disaster management planning only for our generation, but also start looking at what kind of disaster challenges our future generation is going to see. So at least we start giving some insight. We cannot predict the future fully, but at least we start looking. इसलिए ज्योतिष को यूज करते हैं ना लोग कि अच्छा अभी तो नहीं लेकिन 10 साल बाद क्या होगा, बच्चा पैदा हुआ है तो ये अफसर बनेगा कि बिजनेसमैन बनेगा कि उसमें चला जाएगा, कोई गैंग में जाएगा. तो हम क्यों देखते हैं? वो इसीलिए देखते हैं कि 30 साल के पहले के बारे में सोच लेना कि बच्चा क्या बनने वाला, उसको पहले से हम मैनेज करने की कोशिश करें. तो सिमिलरली ऑल द सेक्टर्स आल्सो हैव टू स्टार्ट using some kind of jyotish, not exactly that jyotish I am talking of, but any kind of projection mechanisms, any kind of scientific methods, any kind of statistical tool ki hum kuch jhaak paye future mein. That is very important. So, and before I close, I will just touch upon the conflict and migration issues. I think that is one of the biggest challenge the society is going to face. There is a huge internal migration Dr. Mohanty is here in this program, my good friend, Dr. Ashutosh, good to see you. And see, our states of northeastern part of the country, including Orissa, where the disasters are a regular feature. Even in Bihar, disasters are a regular feature. So after some time, what happens, particularly water-related disasters, drought, flood, these kind of things. Then people think they are, हमारा land में तो हमारा sustenance हो नहीं पा रहा है. Very frequently we are facing disasters. So some of our family members let go and settle in other cities for want of job. And धीरे धीरे then there is a push factor and there is a pull factor. And that is the reason we find that all our cities have slum dwellings, the poor, the colonies inhabited by poor, and our peri-urban systems are expanding and expanding, because peri-urban systems are the real shelters for those people who are having less capacities but high aspirations. They want to become big people. They want to learn more. They want to do more. They want to earn more, but immediately they cannot do. So they have to dwell in those areas which are more hazardous. So the urban flooding issues, the health challenges, dengue, chikungunya, these kind of challenges are being faced. And even if we look at the challenge that the Rohingya crisis, basically it is the crisis of climate change impact only. People have no other option than to move. But where do they move? Then it becomes a security threat to other countries, other societies, other territories. So then these kind of challenges are there. I recall when I was, I was a part of the Indian delegation with the Honorable Minister in 2014 for AMC-DRR. And I was sitting in the negotiation room for when we were negotiating for the Bangkok Declaration, and there was a lot of push to include migrant population as the vulnerable sections, and the countries like India, we were not agreeing, because if we include, then we will have to provide additional facilities to them. Then what about the actual vulnerable people, our SC/ST population, our the marginalized group, our weaker sections of India itself? So that was an issue. Even sir, Philippines, countries like Philippines, they were pushing, please include, because they have a lot of migrant people working in Bangkok and other parts of Thailand. So they wanted it, but Bangkok did not want. And even I am just, although this is a training program, so not an official statement, I am sharing that Pakistan was with us. We had to create a lobby, and Pakistan was very much with us because we faced sometimes similar kind of challenges. So really a wonderful opportunity to share some of my thoughts, and wonderful listening to you, sir. It was really a great pleasure, and great pleasure to see my many friends, not only from India, various other countries also. And thank you, Nakul ji, and thank you, Dr. Avdesh is also here. Thank you, Tanushree ji, for organizing this initiative. Thank you, and best wishes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gupta. It's always like good to listen to you, and it enhances our knowledge base. It always add on to the existing knowledge base. So you have, I mean, you have touched upon so many issues in this 15 minutes. Like what are the various sectors which are not only related to agriculture, but also getting affected, and how they are connected to each other, like energy, water, many other sectors. And you rightly pointed out that some of the disasters or climatic impact we could see, and some are unknown, like this COVID-19 pandemic, and many such unknown crises would happen in future. And we need to foresee that those kind of crises and plan ourselves to have a sustainable approach to deal with those crises which might happen after 20 years, 30 years. And that is what we call preparedness. Thank you, sir, for addressing this gathering and in, giving such a wonderful insight in the sector of agriculture and climate change and COVID-19, sir. Thank you. With this, we are moving into our technical session, and we have with us Professor Ashutosh Mohanty, from Dean and of Research and International Affairs, Madhyanchal Professional University, Faculty of Science and Technology, Center of Excellence in Disaster Management and Environment. Mr. Mohanty will be discussing upon the climate change induced migration. I welcome you, sir, in this platform and request you to unmute yourself and kindly go ahead with your talk.
Good morning to all. This very nice moment for all, because just I listened to sir from the NIDM. So it will be a very good, because I work almost like 17 countries, all like Asia, Southeast Asia, and in the US. So my experience, I will just say, because I have a PhD Viva, so I will brief my talk on this perspective. So what are the major challenges globally, particularly Southeast Asia and South Asia? One is agriculture, no doubt. Secondly, the water, because if you see, there are a lot of conflict going on between, because I'm working with a project called H2O, Highland to Ocean. So that project is from the Indian side, from the, we start from China, then it comes down to the India, then to Pakistan, then it moved to the Afghanistan. Same river in Kabul, as called as Kabul, but the Indus part is India and Pakistan. So the water is the major challenges because of this, climatic condition and the extreme events. There are a number of issues are coming, like how to share the water, because water is the major concern among the people for the agriculture purpose, for livelihood, for the industry. That's a major challenge, because I work as a professor on the University of Madhyanchal. Before, I was working with Mongolia. Then I was a professor in the Beijing Normal University. Then I was in the US. So these are the experience I gathered last 17 years. So I saw there are conflict, not only the agriculture or water, then there is a space issues, like there are a number of hazard starting from Sri Lanka, because if you talk about Sri Lanka, there are the space also very narrow, and people are having the conflict because they have not much lands. And then the also conflict, same thing you can see in this other countries, even if you see the developing countries as well, in Europe as well as China. Even because I work China Beijing for almost like 1 year as a faculty of geography department, geoscience faculty. So I saw there are a number of areas where very densely populated, and they need space for growing their agriculture, for their for their livelihood, even other purposes. So that's where the point of conflict, when there is conflict between the different ethnics and different peoples, and between the states. And so there's a lot of issues and challenges. These are the things. And I can say, because I have also worked in Bangladesh, Buet, when I was associate 4 years with Isimod, that you might know, there is a center in Isimod in Nepal. So we have a program for the all 8 countries: India, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, and Myanmar. So I was coordinator for HUC program, Himalaya University Consortium. So I coordinate these 8 countries, particularly various disaster aspects. So basically we see the water aspect, river basin management, and then water, then agriculture, then highland. There are a lot of hazards, because if you see the hazards, it has been increased because of the global warming. And also there is a other issues, because migration depends upon the country specific. Like if you see about the South Asian prospective countries like Nepal, Bhutan, they migrate because there is a number of disaster has been increased last 2 decades. That is the one point. And then there is a lack of water, although there is a project called Too Much Water and Too Little Water. Although we have a glacier, but the people getting the water is very much care that must. And I'm talking about the clean waters and safe water. So talk about my project, that H2O, Highland to Ocean. I work with the Colorado State University, US, as well as other universities. So I find in my study, the water remains a major concern from all the South Asian countries, because it's very precious. Also, they need for their livelihood, for their agriculture. If you talk about the long-term relation, we have to have some kind of pact. We have to have a collaboration. We have to have some kind of mechanism how to share the water amicably and friendly, because we country in 1950 we have some kind of agreement. But when you talk about 2019 or 2021, there's we have the population has been increased on this periphery and in the river basin. So their demand has been increased. So we have to see how this could be some mechanism. Again, there is a political issue again come between the countries. They said we have an agreement, we have to share, because now our population has been already increased. So we need more water for our industrial purpose, for our agricultural purpose, or other purposes. So we have to see how this mechanism could be resolved. So although we see there is a climate change impact also, because of that, the number of glacier has been, declining and it is retreating. So many areas it is retreating and some are declining. So we have to study, because we studied more than 5,000 glacier, all the Hindu Kush Himalaya, because my specialization is Hindu Kush Himalaya and the river basin as well as glaciers. So in my study, there are number of challenges how to make these things intact, because if you see next generation, we need water, we need all kind of energy, we need all kind of good resources for our future generation. So we have to have some kind of common agenda, collaboration, because we have more than 2 projects that I am leading between the countries like HKH, Hindu Kush Himalaya, including Bangladesh, including Myanmar, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So all countries, we have some kind of collaboration among the scientists. So I, like Kamsat University, Pakistan, and myself, and also there is a Kabul University where I developed the Department of Disaster Management. I developed the curriculum, and also we associate with the Dhaka University and the Puat University in Bangladesh. So we have some kind of collaboration among the universities. So also the students. So in future, maybe we could plan something to work amicably, and we have to share the exchange of knowledge that from our research papers. We are developing several research papers we share among the faculties, from the researchers, and also the fraternity of academia, so that the future conflict could be resolved. So agriculture, one of the aspects where we have to have some kind of collaboration, because the whole South Asia, we have kind of it is the climatic condition is varied, from the lowland to highland. So we have to have some mechanism. We have to produce some kind of new innovations, so that the production could be increased. So that is one aspect I see in my research paper. So because I work in Himalaya, so Himalayan area is very popular for the all kind of vegetable that we grow, and also there is aromatic crops, and then we have fruits also like apples and other orchards. So we have to see how this could be increased, and also our scientists that develop new variety and new crops that could be also shared among the other countries, our peripheral countries, so that our relation could be more cordial, and we'll have a good relation. And we have to manage all this, in the future. We have to have not only we have to have make a conflict, rather we have to see how friendship could be increased, and the friendship among the people, because we have same culture, same kind of religion, same kind of livelihood, living styles and all. So we have to make some kind of arrangement for future, so it could be very sustainable. So these are the things. Then I should see the climatic other conditions, like Indonesia, they change their capital, because there is a less space for their people. So now they're they change their capital. Also similar way, Maldives and other countries, many people they migrate to because of lack of space, and there is a scarcity of water, and there is other issues. We can see in future we have to have a common mechanism how we could have collaborate. Maybe we have more than 10 to 15 papers related to migrations, and also there are other climatic conditions, impact on agriculture, livelihood, and also disasters. So if because the time limit is very short for all of us, so I could some of our colleagues from the other countries, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, if they want, I could share some of my publications. And the recent one, we have publications on agriculture. I could also share that one, so that how we could have a major collaboration and cooperation among the countries, so that our future will be more more bright, and our issues and challenges could be effectively managed. That's all, because I have a very limited time. Sir Nakul sir has just given just one day before. Although I have a PhD Viva test, I am the dean of the university, so I was there. So I take a little space to at least I have to keep my word with Nakulji, so that because I have already 17 years of experience, and also having more than 20 countries. So these experience could be shared in the future, or some other programs, and also some publication that is very important. All are SCI indexed and Scopus index, so that we could share among our colleagues, because here many delegates I see and friendly faces also, like Gupta sir. He's my sir. So it is very nice, Nakul sir, and the all delegates, and thanks a lot to all to give me a little space to talk about all the things, because I am dealing the disaster management department here in Madhyanchal in Madhya Pradesh. Before I was based in Himachal Pradesh in Solan. So now I shift here because of the corona, because corona epidemic also another aspects. We have a global phenomenon, because when I have two projects, I have to travel to Nepal, I have to travel to Bhutan and Bangladesh. But last 2 years I am unable to visit because I have to publish the paper. But sir, because of this corona, this pandemic situation, although our paper research everything, also the students and the faculty member over there, they are having all data and documents. But I need to visit that to collect all information to publish the paper. But I am unable to visit. So now I could see some of my colleagues, so that in future maybe we could collaborate. I can cooperate for our future research work. Thanks a lot for giving me opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty. And you have rightly said that research and innovation is very important if we want to progress in any sectors. And you have nicely connected the three sectors: water, livelihood, agriculture, and largely to the disaster management. And certainly we will look forward for some future collaboration and cooperation in terms of research and publication, especially in climate change and disaster risk reduction. Thank you, Dr. Mohanty, for taking out time and addressing to our audience, sir. And certainly we'll look forward for some more collaboration for future, sir. Thank you, Dr. Mohanty, for your time. We know that experts believe that by 2050, more than 200 million people will forced to flee their homes, and they referred as a climate migrant or climate refugee. But as mentioned by Dr. Gupta, if we'll prepare ourselves or plan ourselves for some extreme scenario, then certainly we will be able to mitigate the impact of this changing climate and increasing disaster. So if you'll see that disaster-induced migration, which is happening very commonly around the globe, has displaced many people by natural disaster or by some development project, is the displacement of the people as a result of disruption of functioning of the community or a society involved in widespread human, material, economic, and environmental loss, or its mankind. So issues and challenges are increasing day by day, but certainly with effective planning, sustainable planning, we will be able to mitigate the impact of these disasters. We have with us Dr. Anil, Professor, Department of Soil Sciences, Bangladesh, Agriculture University, Bangladesh, to discuss upon disaster-induced migration and its impact on vulnerable sections of society. Dr. Anil is also leader of Laboratory of Environment and Sustainable Development and professor at Disaster Risk Management Unit at Philippines School of Business Administration, Manila. He is coordinator with University Network in Bangladesh. Welcome you, Dr. Anil, and I request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk.
Good morning to you all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Nakul, definitely Dr. Tanushree, and I'm listening three eminent discussants, Rajendra Singh, then Professor Anil, then Mohanty. I'm actually the followers of three of them through Facebook and through different media as well as different group of platforms. So this is really my privilege to be the part of this program. And let's begin with the three things. First, our society. If we consider our society, then it should be very much rural, then peri-urban, then it's urban. And if we consider the urban, definitely we should consider very much concentrated to the urban slum. That's one of the major challenge in the recent decade. because people are migrating, especially the vulnerable people, whatever we say, climate refugee, or maybe the displacement, or maybe the people who are forced to migrate for their living livelihoods. So this is the societal cycle. And if you consider our daily livelihoods or needs, definitely I'm grouping it into the three things. Like first group, food, energy, and water. What actually discussed very elaborately and deeply by Professor Mahanti and Professor Anil. So I'm not going into that. Then again, we another group, it's definitely health, education, and job. That's need to be very much for our daily survival and for our future generation. And another group I am mentioning that we need aesthetic something, then we need to change our environment for our future betterment of this. And definitely we need international negotiation. That's also be very much challenging because we are in the same delta, like whatever we say, and we are very much connected for each and everything. Like if we see the ecosystem, definitely Sundarban ecosystem, Bangladesh is very much connected. If we talk about the water, we are very much linked with upstream to downstream. Like we have to link with China, we have to link with India, we have to link with Nepal, and again in Bangladesh. So again, it's linked to the international negotiation. And whatever, if we say the climate change, then again it's linked to the migration that we are saying climate refugee. That's another pressure. We don't want to take it, but we have to take it because for the humanity, for the survival, or maybe the international negotiation. So these three things are also again linked: first group, second group, and third group. And again, it's links to the society, that what I'm mentioning from the very beginning of my talk, that is the rural, peri-urban, and urban. Now, if we see the topic of today's discussion is again four things, and it's aggravated by one, first climate change, then definitely it's linked to the conflict. Then we are again facing with one of the emerging problem, that is the COVID pandemic. And finally, is three things again linked to the mankind, because we cannot take anything without us actually. So whatever, if we say the beneficial aspect, that the human, if we talk about the harmful aspect, the culprit, that also the human. So with the people, actually the main responsible things of climate change, because we need a safer life, then we need electricity, we need power, then we need to burn more coal, more nuclear energy. That's again linked to the climate change. That's one of the example what I am mentioning things. Now I am shifting my talk to the human mankind and how it's linked. So in that case, there is a four aspect. I would like to mention very briefly. One, the physical, then another the economical, then another is social. Definitely it's linked to the mental health, and finally the environmental. So I'm talking with this the impact of human mankind in the four aspects: physical, economical, social, and environmental. If you go for first the physical, like if any environmental challenges or climate change, whatever we say, these days we are recently facing like the duration and intensity of rainfall. What the Rajendra Singh and Anil and Mahanti mentioned. If the rainfall intensity for 3 or 4 hours is heavy, then we are facing the urban flood. And again, it leads to the physical aspect. Like if in the rural area, then the people are forced to migrate for the urban area. So in that case, they should leave their physical belongings. So this is one of the aspects for the vulnerability of the physical belongings. And when they move to the city, then again, it's create pressure on the physical aspect. They need new shelter, they need new job, they need again for the food, fuel, fodder, energy. So this is linked to the rural, to the urban one, and it's very much cyclical. We cannot avoid any of the things in our life. So when we talk about the physical things, we need to talk about the economics, because without the economics or circular economy, we cannot complete our physical things. So that's also create the mental pressure of a people how to earn money for their daily survival. And when think about the economics things, they need new jobs, and then again come to the urban area and create a urban slums. What we are saying, like I don't know in Hindi what this is, the jhuppi ghar or something like this. That's again create a problem for the society. We need them, but we need to manage them properly. Otherwise, it will create a problem for the environment as well. So these physical and economical aspects are interlinked to each other very closely, and it will again create the problem of the society. How it creates to the problem of the society? When a foreign people come in a new place, that's he is a exotic, and people are think in a different behavior. So when the rural people come to the society and they are getting new benefits from them, though they are contributing for their daily economy or maybe daily works or something, whatever we are saying, because we need maid, we need new workers, definitely, but they need to arrange in a specific place. But we don't have that much of mandatory or maybe the regulation or maybe the new policy that will intervene to them properly for that society, for the urban population. So it's again create the social problem for the urban and rural population. So that makes a mental pressure for the especially the young childs who are need to be schooling. They need to be get a new place for the playing or something like this. So it's also create a mental pressure for them, and that's also create the mental pressure for both the man and woman. So again, physical, economical, and it's linked to the society. So if three things combinedly blend, definitely it will need for again pressure for the environment. How it links to the pressure for the environment? If population is increasing the urban society, definitely we need again food, fuel, fodder, energy, whatever we can see. So it's again to share with all of them. Normally the population density of the developed country per square kilometer may be 30, 50, 200 or 400. In our country, it's more than 1,000. Even in India, it's a large country, they have maybe around 500. So it's how much larger than the other developed country. So it will create again the problem of the environment. So whatever we say, if we talk about the climate change, definitely it will create conflicts among us. Not I am saying with the other species. Definitely we are creating conflict with other species. How these COVID days you can see, if you observe it very closely, because people movement is very less, then the other aspect of the environment, like the birds, like the animals, like the cats and dogs, they are easily populating their population. So they have a space for their survival. But when we are conflicting together, man and other environmental aspect, definitely it will create a conflict. And these two things, the climate change and the conflict, again aggravate with the new innovation of the COVID pandemic. So this will stuck our life, daily life, and all the things. So definitely all these things are linked to the human and mankind. So with the people cannot live without our belongings or environment. So if we link all these things, definitely we should think in a holistic way. That what Mahantiji and Professor Anil mentioned properly, we cannot work singly. We need to work togetherly. Definitely we can think, but when we work in the field, we need a collaboration, coordination, and combination. And definitely we are in the high-tech era. So in that case, definitely we should be very much with the technological intervention. Well, people cannot intervene, but maybe the drone can intervene and help each other. So this is the intervention of the technology. And the final things, what I am saying, like with the academician, with the technocrats, with the service provider, with the end users, we need to come in one umbrella. we cannot think singly. Better we think combinedly under the theme of an umbrella. If we come into an umbrella, definitely we will get more benefit, and it will sustain our normal natural resources, and it will sustain it for the future generation. If we sustain ourselves, definitely it linked to the sustainable development goal. Whatever we are saying, 17 goal, 200 indicators or 300 indicators, nothing. But if we come in an umbrella, definitely we will get more benefit for the mankind. Or if we do something for the mankind, definitely it will create a congenial environment, the society for our nature, new existence, or definitely for the future generation. So this is all about us. Definitely people are eager to share their knowledge. So I'm very much happy, and my gratitude to Nakul, Tanushree, definitely Adhishji, and all the participants who are listening me. My special, my little knowledge, if it will change the mankind or definitely the you, then that will be our main blessings. I am working in the infant so last 17 years. Now I am currently working with India and Nepal for 2 projects, and another 2 projects for UK and Japan. And I am working with one of the another project with Thailand. So definitely the knowledge that we generate will be helpful for the mankind, or for the students, or for the researchers, or for the practitioners who are working in this field. So I'm welcoming to you all for this. And finally, thank you very much for your patience hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. You have raised the issues of rural, peri-urban and urban areas, and what are the challenges faced by them. The various sector you have talked about: the health, education, environment, food, energy, and water, and how it is connected. You have rightly mentioned that physical, social, economic, and environmental part is connected to each other, and there is a constant conflict between man and environment. And if we want to mitigate this one C conflict, then we have to, work on the three other C's, like collaboration, cooperation, and coordination. So these three C's will be able to mitigate the impact of conflict among the man and the environment. And with certainly with this kind of initiative of collaboration, cooperation, and coordination, we will be able to ensure the sustainable output which we foresee for 2050 or 2030. So thank you, Dr. Saab, for enlightening us with your thoughts, and we'll look forward for such a such a program in future also, through which we are trying to spread more and more information through this platform. Thank you, Dr. Saab. As we all are aware, thank you, sir. As we all are aware, that global school closure in response to the COVID-19 pandemic present a lot of risk to the children education, protection, and well-being, as mentioned by Nakul sir also in the initial part of the webinar, that around 1.6 million children are out of school during this last 2 years. Children who are the one of the most vulnerable section of our society are hardest hit by any disaster happening around us. Last year, one such example, June for Solution also saw in Nevada district of Bihar, India, where around 100 schools get closed each year due to flooding, as a school building is located in low-lying area and get inundated. So it is observed that children are worse sufferers, especially in view of learning loss due to lack of education continuity planning at the state level and at the department level of education locally. In any disaster we have seen, like if it is a flood, if it is a COVID, even during the air pollution at Delhi. So disasters are locally impacting the education of the children. So it is just one such example we have mentioned of Bihar, and globe is full of such examples. Many such examples are there. Here and there we will see that children education are getting hampered. So with this, I would now like to invite Dr. Sangeeta Pant to discuss upon issues of ensuring child rights during and aftermath of disaster. Dr. Pant is a PhD social work with a broader issue of disaster management. She has more than 18 years of experience in development sector, presently working as a senior manager training and capacity building division of Kailash Satyarthi Children Foundation. Before, she has also worked with Ministry of Women and Child Development as senior consultant at ICPS. Dr. Pant, I request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk.
Thank you so much, Tanushri ji, and thank you so much, Nakul ji, for giving me an opportunity to, discuss about child rights issue. Thank you so much, and I'm very delighted to be part of this August gathering here. So I would like to start with the, with the notes which Tanushri ji just has shared about the educational, the impact of COVID-19 on the education of, of our children. I think yesterday or day before yesterday, while going through the newspaper Times of India, I just read one news related to the education of, our girl children, and which has, drop out drastically. So when we talk about education and children, we have a, age group of children who are into the category of 6 to say 16 or 17 years. So before I talk in detail about children, it is important for us to understand few important things about children. So Tanushri ji, if you have the permission, can I just
Sure.
run my PPT?
Yes. Dharam will kindly give sharing right to Dr. Sangeeta.
Yeah, in the meantime, while they give me the rights to show you the PPT, I am sure that many of you are aware of who are these children. Why I pointed it out, like 6 to 14 years, are these children or any other category or any other age group can be added into that category? So yes, we have. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, just give me a minute. I think my PPT is clear. Is visible to you all?
Yes.
So with this small picture, you can understand this is a girl. So a child is any person below the age of 18 years. That can be a male, female. In fact, a transgender who is below 18 years of age can be considered as a child. This person, this child can be of any religion, from any socio-economic background. So this is the definition of the child. So what is this childhood period? This childhood period, we all know these children are, if you imagine your own children, your grandchildren, your brothers and sisters, those who are young in our group, you will notice these are some of the characteristics which children, pose, like they are innocent, they are naughty in their, in their behavior, in their attitude. They are mindless, which we call na samajh. They do not know what is right and what is wrong for them. They are curious to know things, and that curiosity, that mindlessness of these children make them vulnerable to many situations, which I will talk in my further slides. And yes, they are clever. They are very clever. They know how to make excuses and what are the right excuses for them. They know it very well. But again, because they have limited number of experience, so they cannot understand what is good and what is right for themselves. They are carefree, and that is why they get into risk of many situations. They are experimental. We know that during adolescent age, children get into many of the experiments, and that experimentational attitude of theirs makes them at a risk of many dangerous situations. So we will see, where is this word? Where is this word? Just a second. I think I have missed a slide. Yeah. So if we look into children, so how many children do we have? The category which I am telling you is about 0 to 18 years. So that constitute around 39 to 40% of our, the total population of our country constitute children. That is, nearly 50% of our population is the children. That is why we are being called as a young nation. So, and we have seen the characteristics of childhood, their vulnerability to many kind of exploitation. So it is very important to understand that what kind of vulnerability they are. they are at risk. They are at risk of exploitation because of their, mindlessness, because of their curiosity, because of their, their habit of experimenting. They can be vulnerable to exploitation. And what is that exploitation? That is trafficking. They are being trafficked. And I will tell you that we from Kailash Satyarthi Children Foundation, we have conducted a study wherein it is the major finding of this study revealed that children are being trafficked during the course of COVID-19. And in the exploitation, they are being exploited as laborers. Children are always considered as cheap laborers. So they are at a risk of that also. And then, yes, they are at risk of being exploited by early marriages. COVID-19 has imposed economic setback to our country, and because of that, many of the families, they had to, sell their children in the name of marriage. So they are victims of child marriage. And when we talk about the vulnerability, they are vulnerable to exploitation. They are vulnerable to neglect. There is lots of discrimination among girls and boys. We have seen it is so deep rooted that even though we are in 21st century, we talk about child rights, we talk about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, but still children are being discriminated based on their caste, class, and gender also. And the other type of exploitation, the other kind of vulnerability is abuse. And this abuse is all physical, sexual, and emotional. I will again share with you the data related to the kind of abuse increased during the pandemic period. So when we see these type of vulnerabilities among children, we know that almost 50% of our population of our country is children. So do they really have rights? Yes, they have rights like any other human being, like any other human rights things. Children as a human being, they also do have rights because they are human beings. They are not subject of generosity of adults. That is why Constitution of India has guaranteed certain rights particularly related to children. So they have been given specific rights because, as I said, they are vulnerable, more vulnerable than adults. They generally, what happens, if you think, children are generally considered as a property of their parents because they are vulnerable, because they have limited experience. That is why they need rights. They need specific rights other than human rights. So these are the things. So where are these rights? Where are these rights enshrined? So as I said, first and foremost is our Constitution. So our Constitution guarantees, like Article 21A of our Constitution gives free and compulsory education to children up to the age of 14 years. We have Article 24, which talks about, which prohibits employment of children up to the age of 14 years. The directive principle of state policy under Article 39F states that children have the right for equal opportunity and facility to develop in healthy manner. The directive principle also states that the state has a responsibility to make policies and programs for the overall development of children. And Article 23 of our Constitution of India, it talks about, children need to be protected. Children must be protected from being trafficked and get into the forced labor, which we call bonded labor. Then when we talk about where are these rights are enshrined, it is important for us to understand that National Policy of Children, which was first drafted in 1974, it says that children are the supreme national asset. And the policy also reiterates the fundamental rights given to the children, given to the mankind, and emphasize that children need to be focus of our every policy and program. And then this is the scenario about what happens in our country as far as child rights are concerned. We are in agreement with an international convention also. Many of you are aware that we are a signatory of United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which happened in 1989. We we Indians, we signed this convention in the year 1992, and since then we are bound to have our policies and programs specifically related to children. And all this happens because children were being exploited, because children are always considered as vulnerable. So after this signature in the international convention, we become bound to make policies and programs. And then we have a national policy of 2017, which is an extension of the national policy of 1974. So these are the things which are, which are there. When these rights are violated, like I said, in Constitution, we have certain rights specifically for children. When these rights are violated, so there must be some punishment. There must be constitutional rights must be supported with some laws and legislation. So under Article 39, Article 39F, it's as I said, it states, it gives the state the power to make specific policies and programs for children. So based on this article and our signature to UNCRC, we have developed special laws for children. And what are these laws? These laws are like, here you will see in the slide, we have one legislation called Child and Adolescent Prohibition and Regulation Act. So the title of the act says 1986, and you will question me that I said after the signature of Convention on Rights of the Child that happened in 1992, we made special laws. So there is a contradiction, like this law is before 1992, right? So here I would like to tell the group that before the signature of UNCRC, that is before 1992, the act was titled as the Child Labor Act, Child Labor Prohibition Act of 1986. But there was an amendment happened in 2016, and due to that amendment, the word adolescent was incorporated in the legislation. Earlier, when it was Child Labor Prohibition Act, the definition of the child was 0 to 14 years only. But now after signature in UNCRC 1992, and further based on that, further the amendment in 2016, the word adolescent was included in the legislation, and the word adolescent has been defined as any person between the age of 14 to 18 years. So now this is the complete act which prohibits employment and regulate the employment of adolescent. So the year remains the same, and the coverage became larger. And then we have another act to ensure protection of rights of the children. We have a Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act. The act came in 2006. We have a Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, and you must be hearing about the recent amendment proposed in the act in Child Marriage Act, wherein it is mentioned that the age of the girl child should be from 18 years to 20 years. However, for the boys, the act says that it is up to 21 years of age. And then we have a Right to Education Act 2009, which talks about free and compulsory education for 0 to 14 years of children. And these, if you look into the legislations, they are in tune with the rights enshrined under the Constitution of India. And then we have two major special laws for children, which I will talk when I will talk about the problem of children during the pandemic period. Then I will tell you how these two special laws have become so significant, so important for us to understand these special laws. And these are, first is Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2015. This is an umbrella act which talks about care and protection of all children who are in difficult circumstances, who are in the age group of 0 to 18 years. And then we have another special law that is called Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. This act protects children from adult offenders. Those who ever commits any sexual offense towards a child can be punished. The maximum punishment under the act is death penalty. So these are two important legislation which specifically deals with care and protection of children. So this is in brief about the thing. Now I would like to share about two studies conducted. When we talk about children during pandemic, children during or aftermath of any disaster, we have seen that child rights are violated drastically. We have conducted, at Kailash Satyarthi Children Foundation, we conducted two major studies on to understand how the rights of children are violated. First study was conducted in 2019 when during the first phase, if you remember, during the first phase, when the lockdown was imposed and many of us, we forcefully we had to stay at our home. We could not able to do our work, and that led to economic crisis also. So during that period, we completed a study. It was to understand the socio-economic impact of lockdown, especially on children. And the study brought out some of the important findings. And the findings of the study are, the study says that the study revealed that trafficking of adult and children have increased drastically during the pandemic period. It was conducted in October 2020. The study conducted in 2020. So we had a period from 2019, March 2019 to March 2020 when the study was conducted. Then the other finding of the study revealed that incident of child labor and child marriage has also increased because of economic crisis, because of lack of employment, because of migration. There was an increase in cases of child labor and child marriages. There was high dropout rate, school dropout rate, which Tanushriji has also mentioned, that has come out in our study also. And especially those and especially the girl child. You all are aware that although online classes are going on, but still if you look around your neighboring areas, you see many of the children, they are vegetable vendors. They have started working, they have started helping their families to earn the livelihood, which was impacted during the lockdown. The other finding of the study, it revealed that debt bondage trap has extended drastically during the lockdown period. So this was one study. The other study, as you know, that children were in the pandemic period, everything has become online. So internet and children, these are the lifeline, these are the new normal, what we call is for children, in fact for many of us. But as I said, childhood is a period of experimentation. Childhood is a period when children do not know what is right and wrong for them. Children do not know how to use the internet facility. So they became victim of many kind of online exploitation. Tanushri ji, can I take 5 more minutes to just wrap up, to just talk about child pornography, looking at Nakul ji? I'm just thinking, yeah. So what I wanted to tell you all is that as it has become new normal, children are not aware how to use it, and the sex perpetrators, they find children more vulnerable, so they use this time to exploit children, and the pornography, child pornography cases have increased. So we an organization called India Child Protection Fund, which is a sister organization of which was supported by Kailash Satyarthi Children Foundation, they conducted a study in October 2019, soon after the lockdown. They conducted a study to understand the landscape of use of child sexual abuse material in India and deterrent demands also. So this was a very small study conducted. It was an online study. It was conducted in 100 cities of the country, and the findings of this study were very shocking. The findings revealed that demand for child pornography was on an average 5 million per month in 100 cities where we conducted this study. And that was the data available only on the public web, those who are using the internet on the public web only. So The second important finding was the user base of child sexual abuse material content in India was used basically more than 90% of the people who were using child sexual abuse material were male. Okay, and the demand was from across age group. Like the demand for child sexual abuse material was from the children also, but the children also wanted to look into the child sexual abuse material, adult also, and old age group also. So the demand was across the age groups of our country, and large number of people were using virtual private networks, VPN. If any one of you is aware, it is very difficult to trap the people who are using VPN networks, and for perpetrators it is very easy to through this network they can look into anything and they cannot be in trap of the police. So this was the scenario of using child sexual abuse material, which again created a risk for children, and that is how the rights of the children were violated. When we talk about child sexual abuse material, it is not about children, the graphical representation of children. When child sexual abuse material is prepared, that means a particular set of children are being exploited. Their videos have been developed. So this is how, and in pandemic period, when children are at home, if time permits, again, I will tell you one myth and the fact. People says that child abuse, sexual abuse, or pornographic material, or I'll say child abuse in broad term, is done by any stranger. We teach our children be aware of this stranger. But the fact is that in more than 90% cases, perpetrators are the family members. Perpetrators are those who know the child. And when the pandemic started, when the lockdown started, the perpetrator and the victim, our innocent child victim, was at home and they were being exploited badly. They witnessed the domestic violence at home. They witnessed the sexual exploitation by their, by their neighbors, by their parents, and things like that. So this was the scenario how the child rights are violated, and that is why I told you that there are two important legislations to deal with. We have POCSO Act to deal with pornographic or any kind of sexual offense committed against the children. If Nakul ji and Tanushri ji will again organize a training program on this, we can talk in detail about these two legislation. But I just want to tell you one thing, that under the POCSO Act of 2012, the maximum punishment for any person, sexually abusing the child, and that to aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which we in general call a rape to the child, if done into certain situation, the POCSO Act grants death penalty also. It has a provision for death penalty also. So these are very stringent laws for children. And to the victim of exploitation, we have JJ Act. During the pandemic period, where the cases of online abuse, where the cases of sexual abuse increased, at the same time, many of the children lost their parents, either one parent or both the parents. They became orphan. So the JJ Act provides for sponsorship facilities, for foster care facilities for these children. So we have a strong legislation to protect children from all forms of abuse and exploitation. So this is all about child rights, its violation, and how do we protect rights of children. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I'm very sorry for taking so much of time, Tanushri ji. Yeah, over to you. And I am happy to have questions also, take questions also.
Thank you, Dr. Sangeeta. And I would like to mention here to the larger audience that we both are childhood friends and know each other from last 25 years. And it was very nice presentation, Sangeeta, from your side. And you opened a new area of discussion for us. We always talk about child vulnerability, child risk, but they are vulnerable to so many aspects, including the physical vulnerability you talked about in detail. Most of us have not touched much. We do work in the sector of school safety and all, but so many types of vulnerability child are expected to have, or they are at risk population, and how we can mitigate the impact when the person who is involved in exploiting him or her or the child is inside the household itself. So it's open a new area of challenge, that how we can mitigate the such kind of vulnerability of children. So thank you. It was very good to listen to you, and your presentation was also very nice. And certainly we will organize some child specific program, because we do work in the field of school safety and child issues. So we'll certainly look forward to have more session from you on this issue. Thank you, Sangeeta. Be here for question and answer round. We have 2 more presentation coming up. After that, we'll take question and answers. So we have with us Mr. Matthew Malata, CCA media expert, to discuss upon role of media in climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. And he has also have a journalism initiative and forestry accountability journalism initiative at Malawi. So he will be discussing more on that study of role of media in halting deforestation lessons from Forestry Accountability Journalism Initiative in Malawi. Mr. Malata, I will request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk.
Thank you so much. It's morning here in Malawi. That was a thrilling presentation that has just concluded, and it's good to be here. Apologies, I think I have poor connectivity where I am, but I hope you can be able to catch my voice loud and clear. So basically, I'm the president of the Association of Environmental Journalists in Malawi. Malawi, as some of you are aware, is in the southern part of Africa. We are neighbors with Tanzania and Mozambique, but also Zambia. It's a landlocked country, but we have got vast lake with fresh water and a variety of fish species, some of which cannot be found elsewhere in the world. So proud to be a Malawian and good to join this very important conversation. As you are aware that we are now going through one of the worst climate change crisis, and Malawi has not been spared from this catastrophe because of the weak resilience that our people have. Malawi is a country which has been struggling with drought, but also floods at the same time. And the intensity and frequency of these extreme events has been increasing with time. And for some years, it's been very difficult for the people to comprehend or to come to terms with the circumstances that have faced them and which have also disrupted most of their activities, including agriculture, because, you know, Malawi is an agro-based kind of economy, and these extreme events have really affected food systems, but also their ability to produce food for themselves, but also for sale. And there are some studies which have indicated that slowly, I think the low productivity that these farmers are experiencing also likely going to threaten, you know, the nutrition abilities and all that. And this is why there is need for the country to keep on implementing several adaptation measures that can really help our farmers, you know, withstand the shocks that they're experiencing now. So in the middle of the crisis, or at the center of the crisis, I think the key thing that needs to happen really is information dissemination to the people, so that one, they are aware of the extent of the crisis, but also secondly, they should be conversant with the technologies, for example, which they need to start following or applying in their fields, so that they can still be able to produce what they need to produce, regardless of the crisis that we're going through. This is why the association has been working with a couple of partners, including the government, the Environmental Affairs Department here in Malawi, the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, but also several institutions of higher learning, including the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, to first of all improve the capacity of the media in the reporting some of these issues, because there are always, some technical terms associated with climate change issues, which some of the media people are not familiar with. And when they are not in the know, it becomes really complicated for them to communicate the right things accurately to the masses. So this is why I've been having these partnerships with several organizations to build the capacity of the media, so that they can be in a better position to communicate the climate crisis, but also some of the priority solutions which the government, but also other stakeholders are implementing in order to minimize the suffering that the people are experiencing. Now, I would like to talk about the media landscape in Malawi. We have, I think, close to over 100 registered media organizations, both print and electronic. Most of these are pretty much private run. We have got few that are government run. But the common thing between them is that they are all struggling when it comes to sustaining their operations, so much that it has been very difficult for them to focus on an environment story, which in my view is an important story, but also a powerful story, which we need to tell right now, looking at the crisis that we're going through, but also being mindful that environment anchors everything, because the country cannot talk about sustainable economic growth. The country cannot talk about sustainable agriculture if the environment is in bad shape. So that has been our philosophy, to say, I think we need to prioritize, environmental management. And we have been really trying so hard to make sure that the media takes a very important role in pushing messages that can help the government, for example, increase the level of funding that goes into environmental management programs, adaptation programs, but also in ensuring that the government is able to stick to commitments when it comes to implementing some of the mitigation programs that the country needs to implement. Of course, also in line with some of the global instruments. And recently, I think we had the COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland. I was glad to be part of that meeting. So we need to keep on following up, but also holding the government accountable in ensuring that some of those promises are really implemented, specifically tracking the nationally determined contributions, which Malawi submitted to the UNFCCC, and ensure that there is indeed accountability, but also sustained political will to make sure that all these things are done and done in the right way. So I talked about the media houses struggling to tell an environment story. And that has been an issue which you're trying to sort out, because priority is usually given to political stories, and it really becomes hard for the media houses to support, a journalist who is willing to dig this or deforestation crisis that we're experiencing as a nation. So this is why we came up with the Forestry Accountability Journalism Initiative in Malawi. And we've been working hand in hand with Modern Cooking for Healthy Forest, which is a project funded by the UK government, but also USAID, to make sure that we are able to unearth most of the ills that are happening in the forestry sector in Malawi. For information, I think as a country, we are losing about 32,000 hectares of forest each and every year. And there are also reports that we lose about 29 tons of soil per hectare per year. and the forest cover is not really good at the moment. This is why we think that we need to come in. The major problem we have in the country is the wanton cutting down of trees. I think most of the areas have been deforested seriously, and people using charcoal, especially illegal charcoal in the country, there are just too many, both in the urban and the rural areas. And there are so many underdeals that have been happening in the country, despite having robust legislation and policies. Our understanding has been that we are really struggling in law enforcement issues, but also policy implementation. So this programs has been trying to investigate why is it that we are stuck. We seem to be losing our forests each and every, despite having the relevant tools, which would help us fight the ills that are happening. So we started with about 7 journalists who participated in this program. They were given some grants to carry out these investigative pieces. And I'm glad to share with everyone that really the revelations, but also discoveries were just quite stunning. A number of reports were published, both in the print and also electronic media. And one of the stories really has led to the, suspension or interdiction of some of the government officials who are really conniving with people involved in the deforestation in some areas, including some of the police officers, because the bags of charcoal really have to go through, roadblocks and all that to end up in the markets. So it's been a powerful story, and the anti-corruption bureau in Malawi has been also trying to follow up on this, and so many other stories. And what we have done so far is that we have compiled all these reports into a dossier, which if I had the sharing rights, I would have shared with you so that you can appreciate. But we are about to launch the dossier, I think, in the next week or 2 weeks. And it really has some interesting stories which I'd like to share with the world in as far as the deforestation crisis is concerned in Malawi, and some of the things that the government is doing. So with that, we believe that as a media, we are playing a very important role in ensuring that the government of Malawi is really doing something in halting the deforestation crisis, by especially making sure that enforcement is really done, but also corruption, systematic corruption, which you have observed, is really halted, so that all the players are really responsible for their actions, and really help the country to restore the 4.5 million hectares that we like to restore at least by 2030. And then we should be back on track in fighting climate change in as far as the mitigation in this area is concerned. So in a nutshell, that's all about the Forest Accountability Journalism Program we're having in Malawi. But you may also wish to understand that one of the stories that came out was to do with the alternatives to the charcoal problem that we're having in the country. We are trying to investigate to say, okay, what are the drivers? Why are the people going for charcoal instead of the other, alternatives which we have in the country? And I'm so excited to report to you that one of the things that really came out is that illegal charcoal is readily available in most of the markets. Illegal charcoal is also perceived to be cheaper compared to sustainably produced charcoal. And the other alternatives, for example, gas is also very expensive in Malawi. The initial investment is very high. The cylinder, the stoves, but also the gas itself is very expensive. Not many people can be able to afford. And the other problem has been the scaling up of these innovations or alternatives. That has also been a very complicated issue. We have so many innovations that have been developed by several people, including some from these institutions of higher learning, but we have not been scaling up these innovations, a development that has really made most of the people have limited choices which are affordable but also accessible, so that they can stop using charcoal. We have most of the plants here in Malawi are run by or powered, they are hydroelectric plants, so to speak. I think we are now having some solar plants being installed, but there are not too many. So you can imagine that it's a country of about 18 million people. but we only have a total of 385 megawatts of electricity, which is very, very, very small. And only about 12 to 14% of Malawians have access to electricity. And that tells you how challenging it is to tell someone to stop using charcoal, and focus on other sources of energy, because it's like a country in the dark, so to speak. And you may wish to know that, or you might have read somewhere or watched the news, we are now going through a crisis. We've been hit by Cyclone Anna, which has caused devastation, especially in the southern part of the country. I think over 20 people have died so far. The major road has been cut, has suffered multiple damages. And the rescue teams are still on the ground now, just trying to rescue people, several injuries. And I think over 200,000 people have been affected. And the crisis also did affect the power generation. We were in the dark for most the national blackout for almost 24 hours, because most of these hydro plants are in the southern part of the country where the devastation was massive. And that's one of the risks that we have as a country. And there is a talk that maybe we need to spread these power investments and have some of the plants in the other parts of the country. So the 305 megawatts of electricity, which I talked about now, has been reduced to about 100 something. And we're having, these load shedding programs to make sure maybe the power is sparsely distributed across the country. So that's a crisis that we have at the moment. So it means if the power generation has gone down to that extent, it means that even the energy for cooking now is an issue, and people have to resort to the charcoal, which is cheap and accessible as compared to maybe gas and all that. So it's really a challenge which we have at the moment, but we need to keep on reminding the people on the need to make sure we are going for green alternatives, so that we can really continue to make progress. But there are lots of things that the government needs to do, and this is why the media needs to be available, needs to be present in these conversations, so that we continue to enlighten the people, but also push for certain actions that can really help everyone in this country. So in a nutshell, let me stop there and give the microphone or the floor to the moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Malata, to discuss on media landscape in Malawi and sustainable agriculture, environment, forest, and role of media in deforestation at Malawi. With this, we have come to an end. We have one more presentation. As we are aware that Engineer Avdesh Kumar has always supported us in our initiative. Engineer Avdesh Kumar is from Department of Civil Engineering, Invertis University, India. And Mr. Kumar has vast knowledge of disaster risk management, as we have seen in various webinars being organized by June for Solution. He always supported us with his thought and very innovative presentation on various issues whichever he has discussed. Is currently also involved with National Institute of Disaster Management. And I will request Avdeshji to discuss upon need for framing a regional public policy for mitigating the impact of humanitarian crisis. Avdeshji, kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk. In the meantime, I'll request all the audience to drop their questions in the chat box, and we'll be taking up questions and answer after the presentation of this.
Thank you, Tanishri ma'am, for introducing me.
अवधेश जी, एक सेकंड मैं आपका टाइम लूंगा। मुझे गिरीश मिश्रा जी दिखे थे अभी। मिश्रा साहब आप हैं क्या?
हाँ, वो थे तो काफी देर से। I could also notice him.
हाँ,
he was here.
मैंने उनको नोट किया था। मिश्रा साहब आप हैं क्या, गिरीश जी?
He was still the presentation of Dr. Sangeeta. I could notice him.
हैं क्या?
I don't think so. He is now here.
I think sir is right now. अभी उन्होंने छोड़ा, अभी उन्होंने लीव किया है।
अच्छा, कोई इशू नहीं, आप कंटिन्यू करो।
वो शायद फिर से जुड़ेंगे अभी।
अच्छा।
और जी, हाँ, because he is holding a post there, that is assistant dean, and it is not a easy thing. So lots of responsibility there as well.
He was here till last presentation. He just left, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Tanishri ma'am, and Nakul sir for inviting me and for this presentation. And since this presentation is on humanitarian crisis, and in the chat box I can see crisis or feedback form. So let's end first this crisis. So you can find this feedback form here, because it is very important, so that you can all get a certification for attending this program. And I'm very thankful for all of you, that you are today you have joined here. And let's begin this presentation of mine. And please provide me the sharing rights, Shri ma'am. I request the administration to please provide me on both IDs. Thank you. If it is visible, please let me know.
Yes.
So I have taken it on the presentation mode, and I think it is, if it is visible on the full screen mode. So all of us who have gathered here, whether we are the listener or the spokesperson, we all belong from the same category. We are the Homo sapiens, and it's our common issue. But today the topics, more than technicality, I belong from the engineering domain. But this is the subject that have a different angle, or we can say some kind of zone where we should naturally concern with. We have to naturally concern with. That is about the need for the framing of regional public policy for mitigating the impact of humanitarian crisis. If you can see the slides, you can see the left hand side picture that shook the world. It is the picture of a very small kid, Syrian boy, who found dead at the Gold Coast. And in the second half, you can see the women are traveling. This is from India during the migrant movement. When the COVID-19 first time outbreak, and we faced the lockdown, and a large-scale migrant movement was observed in India. Not only in India, in all the places all around the world. So this is some issues that have posed a serious question in front of all of us as a human being, not as a professor, not as an engineer, doctor, lawyer, NGO person, but as a human being. When we see the human survival, we can see these three basic needs. You know that everyone wants, everyone required the food, everyone required the clothing, everyone required the shelter. Shelter is, I'm stressing on this word a lot, because this is an issue that is disrupted a lot during the disaster or some type of the conflict situation. In fact, in the conflict situation, all these three requirements that are considered the basic needs of human survival come under question. And why not? Why not these three basic needs come under question? Because in the planet today, we are in an international webinar, and the whatever we call it ourselves, we are I am the citizen of India, you are the citizen of Pakistan, another some other one is a citizen of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Germany, USA, and someone is from the Iraq as well. So lots of people may have the different nationality, but we have the one planet, and this planet we can consider as a bus. And bus, some kind of vehicle you can imagine as per your choice. So we are traveling with the vehicle, and we are revolving around the sun. We complete 365-day revolution together, regardless of the boundaries. But what is happening now, this bus or this vehicle is becoming overcrowded day by day, decade by decade. And this overcrowded vehicle is the ultimate cause, because of why we are getting into trouble, and we are facing more and more conflicts with each passing decade. So here you can see data that is about Earth is already overcrowded. पहले से ही बहुत populated हो चुकी है. और this data is this is called the overshoot. Basically, overshoot is the annual demand on resources exceeding what Earth can regenerate each year. Whatever the Earth can regenerate, we are using the resources more than that. So currently at present time, Earth required about 1 year and 6 months time to regenerate what we are using today. It means that we need approximate 1.5 Earth to fulfill our needs right now. And just after 30 years, in 2050, it is predicted by experts that we will need the 3 Earth if we continue the usual approach. You know that this is the situation for now, and if we implemented the measures for conserving our biodiversity, climate change issues, if we address correctly, so this will be the situation in the 2050. But if the trend continued, then it will result into the severe situation that we will require the 3 Earth for our survival. So forget about the 3 basic needs of the survival. We will be in a unprecedented conflict event in the coming time. So this is in itself a serious picture. Now moving ahead, if you see India, you can see this. I'm playing this, so you can see a long coastal boundary India have. So about 7,516 kilometer. It is if I tell you the numeric count, so you can see this is highly predicted that this coastal boundary has a high chance, so is facing the vulnerability of inundation. So when this happens, so what happened, the second cause in which what we are addressing today in our webinar topic, it is about the migration. So what do you think? Without technicality, we can say the people who are living in this area will be forced to migrate into the higher lands. So this is also going to be a challenge for the countries who have the coastal lines like India. So so you can see the severe pictures, and in a way, if I represent it in an interactive way, so you can say world had recently faced a pandemic, the COVID-19. We popularly know its name. Many of us are the sufferers. We have lost many people during the last 2 or 3 last 2 years time. So here we can see the pandemics and climate change issues and conflicts. These 3 are entirely showing a unprecedented rise in their advance, and as a result, what is falling down, it is our economy. Not only the economy of India, it is the economy of the world. Whatever the nation you belong from, the economy is suffering a lot. And when the economy suffers, the person who was standing in the last in the last position of a line, he is going to suffer 10 times more. So disaster is collaborating better than we are. And what is the issue? What is the scale of this COVID-19 event? You can see that if even the country like India, it to begin accepting the foreign aid for the first time in last 16 years, it forced us to change our policies of not accepting the aid. We humbly say that we not required any aid. We are self-sufficient in managing a disaster, but this time it was an unprecedented one. So crisis is something that we never faced before. That is why our effort should be like that we have never taken before. So climate change, recession, COVID-19. So what we are facing, this COVID-19. So this is a very small issue. Very soon we are going to hit by the climate change, and COP26, that was the Glasgow, we can popularly call it on various international action platforms. So this has clearly indicated toward the same scenario that is predicted, that is which is shown in this figure. Coming back to the topic on the humanitarian crisis, if you see these 3 pictures, I have intentionally not mentioned any much text in this. These pictures are enough. to tell the gravity of the subject. So this is, the 1945 on 6 August 1945 and 9 August 1945. That's there are the two big events. Hiroshima and Nagasaki took place, and humanity got a great hit because of the man-made causes. And here you can see the last thing of a 3-year-old Syrian boy said before he died that I'm gonna tell God everything. So you can imagine the feelings associated with this image and the questions that is like the open bound toward the global community at this point of time due to these inhuman events like wars and conflicts. But what the people in the disaster management domain are worried about, why they are worried about. So disaster and conflict are interdisciplinary. You can say, not an interdisciplinary, but they are associated event. So as a global sphere for humanitarian action, it is dominated by the conflict situation. We can say that defined the humanitarian system of India are considered based on the definition of disaster given in the Disaster Management Act 2005. We draw our definition of disaster from the Disaster Management Act 2005. In Disaster Management Policy 2009 and core humanitarian action, they are included. It's for saving life and provision of food, water, sanitation, shelter, health services, livelihood support undertaken for the benefit of people affected by natural or man-made, whatever it is, and the conflicts are also included in that. This is very important to facilitate to return back to the normal life and livelihood. When we talk about the relief and responses, of course, allied humanitarian actions include protection of children, vulnerable women, older people, as the previous speaker was telling about from the Kailash Satyarthi group, and older people and with the people with the disability, they are also the most vulnerable one. So during such crisis situation, they become a highly sought target. So during the conflict or disaster situation, so there is a connection between the crisis, humanitarian crisis. But after all this knowledge, what is happening? If we closely look back into the previous situation, you can see these two pictures. One is from the 1945, that is by the end of the World War II. And you can see German refugees, displaced person, crowding every square inch of a train traveling to the Berlin. And this is the image from 1947 from Indo-Indian-Pakistan partition from a station near New Delhi. So these two have no differences. So it simply said that whatever the boundary it is, whether it is India or some kind of the developed or whatever the name or category we provide to the country or the geographical boundary. So the situation is same for the human beings. When they fell down in the crisis, they are going to suffer. So similarly, like previous century, when we come on to the present century, this is the scene from the Afghanistan. You can see the people. Everyone know that when they are going to fly with the plane and they board like this, so the death is certain. So everyone knows about that. But they are they have no other choice. That is why they are trying to board on this plane, because this is the only hope of those people. And as a result, this you can see the people are falling down from that plane and losing their life. Similarly, this is an image from the migrant movement from India. So people, we as a intellectual, all the intellectual peoples and all the experts were talking about the maintaining the social distance and COVID-19 appropriate behavior, the sanitation and washing hands. But the real situation on ground was something that was totally different. This was the situation on ground. So this is something that is enough to throw water on all our plannings. So this is the condition in the present century. So if I move back to the slide, this is the previous century, and this is the present century. So you can easily imagine that what is the progress in our humanitarian action. So obviously, you can see this is the data from the UNHCR. So lots of people, like 65.6 million forcibly displaced people worldwide, and there are the refugees 22.5 million, 10 million people are stateless, and when it you can see the big data are there. So I'm not going to read all the data, but when it comes on the word of the refugees, my point is the people start hating them. But refugees are the victim of the crisis. Actually, they are not the creators. When they are traveling, nobody wants to move from their country or the native place. But when they when the conditions are observed, they have to. So they have no other options. So this is another aspect. So the topic that I am raising today, it is about the need for the regional public policy framing, because in the previous slides, in a way, I have presented a brief overview, and it is upon you to decide that whether we have succeeded in 100-year span about implementing the humanitarian initiative on global level or national level, whatever the level is, so or not. So it is upon the people who are watching this presentation. Now, it is very clear that something needs to be changed, because we cannot go or move ahead with the planning that we have already done, because we are the generation who have the experience, and we are ourselves the witness of these failures, that plans are not executing on the ground. So what kind of things needs to be changed? So, and why need to be changed? What is the need of regional policy framing? First is the COVID-19 show no sign of abating, claiming at least 1.8 million lives across the WHO countries. You know that in India as well, we are suffering from the third wave. Lots of our states and especially the schools are. I will come on the topic later regarding the school closure. But we are unable to function with full of our capacity. So this is something that is an indication that we need to go for a regional public policy framing. Second, we can see the major tipping points for the climate may already have been reached or passed. In previous century or 10 years back, it was okay that we close our fist and say with a lot of energy that we are going to beat the we have to set the new target. But it is the situation that then we now we have the situation that many situations are like the curd, and we cannot convert into the milk right now. That is an important thing that should be understood to present generation, whoever is working in the climate change domain. It should be very clear that many of our lines have been already passed. We have no set line. And COP26 that we were discussing that 2100, when 2100 is come, then we will start acting for the climate change. Our sea boundaries is going to inundate at that time, but now that is shifted back, and it is now erected in 2070. So already this is a point where we have to decide that what will happen to those population when it moves toward the higher land, when their coastal boundaries is going to inundate. It is a question that has to be answered at this point of time. Political conflict continue hitting the civilian population hard. It is especially in the developing country, this is very common thing. That's particularly they in the developing countries, already the people are vulnerable, including the children and the person with disability, women or girls, whatever we talk about. So this increase the risk of we know lots of sexual violence. This is also discussed by the previous speaker. And attacks against humanitarian workers and assets continue. 117 humanitarian workers and killed in 2020. Not old data it is. So 108 of whom were working in their own country. So you know that the people are not dying in another country, they are dying in their own countries. And during the COVID-19, we have also witnessed that medical fraternity is also hit by the people who are suffering from the COVID-19 by their family members. So this is something that is going to be happen when the panic created among the masses and political conflict rises. So hunger is rising and food insecurity is at unprecedented levels. You know that globally up to 811 million people are undernourished, And famine-like conditions remain a real and terrifying possibility in 43 countries around the world. Without sustained and immediate action, 2022 could be a catastrophe. We have a lots of hopes from the 2022, but it can be a catastrophic, and we know it because of our models and our, with the help of our studies that are conducted by our experts. So if we know, then we should act. Second, why a regional public policy framing regarding the humanitarian crisis is important. That is, more than 1% of world population is now displaced. About 42% of the home is children. And COVID-19 is severely impacting the health system worldwide. In COVID-19, we witnessed that not the developing countries, but many developed countries like USA, their medical facilities and the services collapsed. It was so unprecedented. The people were not ready for that. So this is severely impact the health system worldwide, an issue that was not in the picture when the policies were framing and to handle the humanitarian crisis at that time. So hard-won development gains in the employment, food security, education, and health have been reversed, and COVID-19 continues to disrupt the global education. I also belong from the education fraternity. That is why it is a very important point that school closure hit vulnerable children the hardest. You know, the peoples are not able, the students are not able to see the their teacher, their batchmates. And globally, 870 million students face disruptions of their education. Remote learning cannot reach everyone. It is a well established fact that we know that not everyone, there is a concept of the digital divide exists in the developing countries, especially the people who are living in the rural sectors. 2.2 billion children have no internet access at home as per a study, and online learning does not replace the protection benefits of the children physically being in school. Lots of things school teaches to the children that is not possible in the online education or the non-physical learning. So these are some aspects that are less talked but very important. In India, we have already a Prime Minister 10-point agenda, and this is outlined by the Honorable Prime Minister for it was a effort of Indian government of India toward the disaster risk reduction to address. It was delivered in the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. So there are the 10 points. We can imbibe each point with this aspect, and we can create a path where we can achieve this type of goals for a better resilience that we have today. In the last slide, whatever the I would like to demonstrate here, I would like to show here a very popular picture, and this is the provocative sculpture in Berlin that was created by artist Isaac Cordell in 2011 to bring attention to the mounting issues caused by the climate change. Climate change, if exists, conflict is certain. It is this is the thing that I have shown in my first slide, that we are traveling in an overcrowded vehicle. If you are the conductor of a vehicle and the capacity of the bus is 40, so at least if the 80 people are there, you can manage. If 80 become 160, it become a very difficult situation for you to manage. Then conflict arises. The people start fighting with each other to travel with that bus, and 180 become 360. So it will become impossible, and even people can kill each other. So this is the simple fact, simple calculation. There is nothing much more than that. So if we continuously fail in our in meeting our in climate change and goals, and busy in words and less effective in the implementation, so it is going to be a harsh reality in the future. We all know this. So with this word, we should I would like to hand over this hand over to Tanushree ma'am. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Avdeshji. As you have rightly mentioned, that various initiative has been taken by many countries, both in policies and practical action for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, focus upon reducing the vulnerability of local community, thereby enhancing the resilience for minimizing the adverse impact of disaster risk and climate change. Mitigation, adaptation, and financing are the three major concerns if we want to minimize the gap created by the climate change. And I want to connect here by your presentation to Dr. Anil's presentation, that he talked about that everything has been created by us only. All the issues, all the current scenario has been created by us only. So we only have to mitigate that. So we need to come together and work upon all these challenges and issues. And I would like to reiterate the fact that Zone for Solution provide this in a like a platform. Each month we come up with some or other agenda, and I could see and observe now that this platform are becoming very important source of knowledge and information gathering also, because we have very varied speakers from across the sector who talked about specific issues and challenges of that particular sectors. And it has been reiterated by Dr. Anil Gupta and Rajendra sir also, that this platform are very important for knowledge building and knowledge dissemination. And I feel that with the support of audience and the speakers like you and supporters, we will be able to come up with new agenda every month and discuss the issues and related mitigation, adaptation measures or solutions regarding that particular issues. So thank you, Abdeshji. And I feel now with this, we have come to an end to this program, and I will request larger audience, if they have any questions, either they can drop the questions in the chat box or they raise their hand and ask the question. And I'll also request all the speakers who are still present to kindly on their video, so that concerned speaker could address the question related to them. Any question anybody want to ask?
Any questions, or you can also
Any suggestions or any question recommendations?
Yes, please, I have a question. Hello, I have a question.
Yeah, kindly go ahead,
please. We can hear you.
Okay. I'm Bukar from Nigeria. I'm trying to raise an observation regard to all my questions to some of the risk management aspect within the purview of the pandemic. That what are those legal policies put in place by the system in order to curb some of those challenges that link to our society in our world of today, and how those policies can achieve their core objectives in sanitizing the heart and mind and orientations of people of our respective country on how to mitigate some of those environmental challenges and our children's right in the pandemic, in order to kind of have a sanitary and well hygienic environment for those our future generations. Thank you.
So Avdeshji, would you like to answer this query?
I could not understood the question properly, because I think it is a environment. Can you please repeat the question, sir? I think you are asking that what policies should be there?
Global regional policies, yeah.
Global regional policies. Actually, all the
how to mitigate the future challenges is what you said.
How to, that is why I presented an overview of what the future is going to be. That you know that all the conferences and all our indications, all the studies are saying that the climate change issue is worsening day by day. You know, we are hearing that the climate fuel disasters are increasing. If you refer the UN CRED report, human cost of disaster. And if you go for Glasgow, one of minister, I can't recall the name of the country, but he stand in the water and address from there. So obviously the climate change is going to hit hard in the future. And whatever the policies, different countries have the different policies. We have the one global framework. Then by inspiring the global frameworks, nation also draw their national policies. They are all okay. They are all in place. But till today, we have not familiar with the situation like the COVID-19. They are also coming in picture. This type of situation. So we should incorporate certain plans. So if you remind my presentation, if you recall my presentation, then I discuss about since these type of pandemics or epidemics are not showing sign of abating. So, and this political conflicts, hunger rising, and food insecurities. And another aspect that already the 1% of the global population is already displaced. That is about 42% comprises about children's, and already the global education center. So whatever the policies nations have created, they needs to be updated. This was the point. This is the point that I would like to make. And whatever the situation in any particular country, the expert of those countries access those situations and take the measure of that.
Let me add few lines. Actually, earlier policy were made for the particular hazard. At that time, let's say, as even Sangeeta said, Dr. Anil Gupta said, everyone said, and earlier also how we deal the hazard by hazard, right? Legislation for fire, legislation for earthquake, legislation for disease, right? Because we have disease. So most of country have the same type of policy or framework, hazard by hazard. But the situation has come at a point where we should have a comprehensive plan, and not for the one country. For example, let's say in pandemic, in COVID, we may vaccinate all over India, including child from 0 year to senior citizen of 100 years. But what about our neighbors? So that's why I think Mr. Bukar is looking for a policy which encompass the regional policy. Like then you can in this situation you are not safe until everyone is safe. So you need a policy like regional policy. And how it will happen? It will happen like, because as we are discussing here, this can be discussion of the SARC, this can be discussion of ASEAN, this can be discussion of European NATO, this can be discussion at UNA, and then we can have a regional policy to cater this type of situation. Otherwise, it is not possible, because you can't handle a cell and you can say we are successful, we are champion, we have managed the disaster. It's not possible at this point of time. Why? We have to deal with other nation also. We have so many cooperation. So we have to think on the regional basis or at a global level only. I think I am able to reply your answer, Mr. Bukar. Thank you. Thank you. So take next question, please.
Like this.
His voice is not clear. His voice is not clear.
No,
but he is talking about, he has also text in the chat box that what policies are not getting implemented
Obviously.
properly, and it is leading to societal issues. So just one line, like implementation is one thing, but we community also need to adapt to the policies which are getting implemented, or advisory or guidelines which are being issued by the government. Community also need to adapt to the upcoming challenges. Then only the successful implementation of policy could happen. The next question is what could be the major role of journalists to face the challenges by the community during the COVID-19. If Mr. Malata is here, he can respond to.
And participant can also type their question in the chat box in case.
Yeah, they are from the chat box
okay.
only. I'm taking from chat box. So what is the major role of journalists to save the challenges faced by the community during pandemic? So if Malata is not here, Nakul sir, you want to respond to this issue, role of media in facing the challenges of COVID-19 by the community?
Okay. Now Malata is online. Otherwise, I am replying this question. See, media has different functions, including right in communicate, inform, and educate the community with right information. So, role of media in this situation is what is happening at the another part of country to communicate the sufferer in a right way, not to create a panic or not to distort the fact. So everyone can have the right information and save themselves from the rumors. Like there are so many rumors of propagating at the time of COVID. You take this kaha, you take this medicine, you take, and so many pamphlets came into the market, and everyone trying whatever they were getting through the WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever the source of information. But please, you trust the registered media, and registered media role is to provide you correct information from where? From the valid source of information. Like what government has decided, their role to educate you, inform you with not only with words, with intent also why this decision has been taken. I think, is it okay?
Sir, good day.
Yes, Mr. Nagarjan.
Please, sir, please, Nagarjan.
Hello, sir, Tarun ji, and Avji.
Sir, namaskar.
Nice to meet once again. Sir, we are planning excellently and creating new policies, but at the same time, we are having the large population with a tendency to violate the rules to show their power and supremacy. In such a case, we are not able to fulfill our policies and planning successfully. It is the duty of educationalists like you and our great organizations like Tarunji's must create the behavioral change among the people. Unless we will face, our next generation will also face the consequences.
Very correct.
We have not committed the crimes and faults, but for others' faults, we are suffering.
Very correct, sir. Very correct. Very correct, sir. And sir, one thing I would like to add here, that okay, this is the responsibility of individual or excellent organizations. They are doing their duty, great. But now I would like to bring a new dimension here. And I always say that, you know, we are sailing in a same boat. It doesn't matter who is making whole.
Yes,
whoever whoever is making mirror, it is a threat for everyone, every person who is selling in that board. That is why whether he is from the part of any organization or individually acting, that their weightage is same. And it's our planet, we have to save with a collective responsibility. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. But my intention is the faulters, those who are doing the mistakes, they must be penalized properly.
Very
so
correct.
that only others won't do in
Right, sir.
future. Yes, yes, sir. Otherwise, the innocents will suffer.
Yes, sir. We can say them that get down, please get off from the boat. That this is okay, sir.
At the same time, it is our duty to teach everybody to learn swimming also.
Nagranji, yeah, this is a great point. Let's take another question or suggestion, if any, from the participants.
Okay,
because time is very short.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. Vasudevan sir from Tamil Nadu.
Sir.
Yes, Vasudevanji.
Yeah, it's as Mr. Nagarajan sir said, it's a global issues. Even the developed countries are not understanding what the government insists to follow the protocol, COVID protocol and all. But people are against that. Why you are staking on us? We have to be free from that now. But when they are suffering, the whole country is suffering. So as Mr. Nagarajan said, we have to strictly implement the procedures and policies in a stronger way. This is my suggestion also. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, sir.
So any other suggestion or question from anybody in the group?
Tanushree, people are already leaving because most
so,
of people have the lunch time.
Kindly conclude, and I will request you to give vote of thank and conclude the workshop.
Okay. So friends, even if you have questions, we are the most available professional on social media, or my number is already displayed on the Google. So you can share your question at any time. We will certainly reply you. Thank you, you all, for joining us.
Please, you can also join our WhatsApp group. Its link is available in the chat box.
We are very thankful to person joining across the globe. You name a country, from there either one or two participants had joined. This is a great pleasure for us. I am thankful to you all, and I am also thankful to our speakers, our chief guest Dr. Rajendra Singh, our keynote speaker Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta ji, Professor NIDM. Dao Haidri Sahab not joined. Even I am thankful to him. I am thankful to Matthew Malata from Malawi. He has spoken in very detail, and we understand the effect of climate change on the globe. He has the experience, and I know him. He represented his country. He covered the COP26 at Glasgow, so he had very good information, and we will keep inviting him. I personally thank Dr. Shri Ashok Dhingla ji. He is a senior citizen, but I found in every program his learning desire is very high. I am very thankful to K. Nagarajan ji, Vasudevan ji, and our lady faces, lady speaker Dr. Sangeeta from Satyarthi Foundation, our moderator Tanushree Verma, and my young disaster manager, budding disaster manager Avdesh ji. We will have a good disaster manager in future. I am also thankful to Dr. Gajal, Anjali. I found these curious, these learners in every program. Thank you everybody for supporting us.
Dr. Girish ji, Dr. Girish sir.
Dr. Girish Chandra sahab, Dean at Raipur University. Sorry, we didn't find Dr. Rakesh Kumar Mishra ji. Thank you everybody Mr. Bukar from everyone. Thank you. And
sir, what? Yes, sir, please.
Please.
Sir, please.
नकुल जी, किसी सिविल डिफेंस के ऊपर भी आप सेमिनार करवा दीजिए दिल्ली में।
पक्का कराएंगे। थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी, क्योंकि मैं आप लोगों के लंच के बीच में खड़ा हूँ। आई एम स्टैंडिंग बिटवीन यू एंड लंच, सो आई एम वेरी सॉरी। थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी, थैंक यू फॉर द कोऑपरेशन, थैंक यू फॉर द लर्निंग।
नकुल जी, मैं डॉक्टर श्रवण पटना से।
डॉक्टर श्रवण कुमार जी, आपका थैंक यू।
पटना कब करा रहे हैं आप सिविल डिफेंस का?
मैं पक्का कराऊंगा। और
सर से हूँ और पटना सिविल डिफेंस से हूँ।
सर सिविल डिफेंस,
आई नो यू, आपको बताने की जरूरत नहीं है सर।
नकुल सर,
हमारे सिविल डिफेंस के काफी लोग हैं हमारे साथ, तो वी विल सर्टेनली हैव अ डिस्कशन ऑन सिविल डिफेंस। एक्चुअली सो मेनी पीपल आर कॉलिंग मी फॉर बिकॉज आई एम स्टैंडिंग बिटवीन देयर लंच।
Nakul ji, I interrupt you once again. Dr. Shravan Kumar Sharma Singh ji is one of my best friend, and he is also a amateur enthusiast. So every day, now and then, whenever I control the Pune as well as Bhubaneswar net, so we have very long time up to 9:30 to 11 o'clock. We go on talking on disaster management issues. Wherever any programs are there, we share.
जी को मैं सुन रहा हूँ, क्षमा मैं चाहूंगा।
So he is very good friend of mine, Shravan ji.
Yes, just I want to know your name, please.
अरूप धार फ्रॉम
अरूप जी हैं, अरूप धार जी। ये आपकी बहुत तारीफ करते हैं सर।
बेईमान आदमी निकले, ईमानदार नहीं आप। छुपा के कर ले रहे हैं।
थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी, प्लीज।
ठीक है, ओके, थैंक यू।
नहीं तो मुझे
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर, वेरी गुड प्रोग्राम टुडे।
थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी, थैंक यू, प्लीज हैव योर लंच। थैंक यू।
क्या करेंगे, ये फोटो हमारा आने लगा, खत्म हो गया। धन्यवाद, थैंक्स।
धन्यवाद,
थैंक यू।